Smooth jazz.
Big band swing.
Hello and welcome to So It's a Show? It's a podcast where we attempt to keep up with Lorelai and Rory's pop culture references on Gilmore Girls. I'm Kyla.
I'm Taylor. And welcome to our smooth jazz hour of big band swing music.
Yeah. I'm snapping along.
And the music will be smoother than we are.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I've never really listened to much jazz, so this was new for me.
I enjoy big band swing music or jazz music, or there's probably some very musically inclined person who will tell us that we are getting our genres mixed up, and that's okay. Please tell us.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it, but I don't listen to it all the time. It was a nice change of pace.
Yeah, I liked it while I was working or just hanging out in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice. So the reason why we're talking about smooth jazz is because we dug into one jazz musician's music this week and referenced in episode 5?
4.
Episode 4, season 1 of Gilmore Girls. And let's play the clip.
No Black Sabbath. No one is listening. No Black Sabbath, no Steely Dan, no Boston, and no Queen. What happened to make you so cold? You like that Mozart? I am the Artie Shaw of harpists.
Drella, man, she's a piece of work, huh?
Did you know, fun fact, that actress was originally going to play Suki.
Really?
Yes, Alex Borstein was whom she is now on Family Guy and has done a bunch of other things. And embarrassingly, the thing that I most know her from is the Lizzie McGuire movie, in which she played Miss Ungermeyer, their Italian chaperone in Italy.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't have been able to tell you what she played, but I did watch that movie and a couple times.
Sorry, Alex Borstein, that's probably not the thing you want your career known for.
No. But we're millennials. That's what we remember.
Yes.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that she would have fit for Suki. She's too snarky.
It would have been really different for sure. But I really like her as Drella. She's funny. I kind of wish she would have stuck around for more episodes, but it sounds like she's got a busy schedule. Yeah,
I mean, she also played the dress, what do they call her?
Miss Celine or Celine?
Yes, Miss Celine. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh my, it's Natalie Wood.
Yeah, they kept her around. So yeah, she is talking about Artie Shaw. So that's whose music we listened to, and that's whose music you heard in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. So Artie Shaw, you are probably not familiar with him. I know I was not, but he is from the same time as big band leaders like Benny Goodman and Glenn Miller in the 30s and 40s. And he was actually known as, get this, the King of the Clarinet. So, sorry, important. Kyla, if that was a title you were hoping to earn in your life. Maybe you can be the Queen of the Clarinet, but he is the king. So, and he lived from 1910 to 2004, so he lived a long musical life. Some fun facts about him. He lived in New Haven, Connecticut as a child for a while. Home of Yale.
Hey-o.
So there's a fun Gilmore connection. And
wonder if he was a Bulldog fan.
I don't know. He actually dropped out of school at 15, so he did not go to Yale for sure. He wanted to spend more time studying music and playing, so as a kid, he's picked up on instruments like the ukulele and the saxophone, and he was really inspired by musicians like Louis Armstrong. And so by the late 20s, he was traveling around the country in different bands. He was in Chicago, New York, Pennsylvania. He came back to New York, and his career was really taking off at that time. He was doing in-studio sessions and also performing on the radio. And In 1935, he played at the Imperial Theater in New York and wrote a piece called Interlude in B flat, and it was so popular that his career went to a new level.
Okay, can I say something about titles for songs?
Please.
Why Interlude in B flat? And like one of my favorite pieces of old music is a Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini.
What?
Like, why is that your name for it? Right? It's like, how do you remember that? I mean, I remember it because it is my favorite old song, but Interlude in B flat. Like, why not, I don't know, a scene in the springtime?
Like something
that sounds a little thought through?
Yeah.
As opposed to just, this song is in B flat, by the way, guys, in case you wanted to know.
I feel like it's one step above Untitled. Like, you didn't want to take the time to
Yeah.
title it, so you're just going to talk about, like, one important note. Once again, musical people, feel free to call me out on maybe there's a real reason.
Yeah, tell us why. Yeah, maybe it's some tradition. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let us know, because I just think, why not title it something meaningful as opposed to just, about the notes that you're playing. But.
Yeah. Well, actually, one of his most popular songs has a more creative name that maybe you could help me to decipher. In 1938, he updated a Cole Porter song called Begin the Beguine. And that is the song you heard in the opening. He made it a swing song. And I don't know what a beguine is. Do you know?
I do not know.
Let's see.
The internet probably does.
Let's see. Google says...
Oh, it's a popular dance.
Like the foxtrot.
Of West Indian origin.
Okay, so begin the dance. Begin the foxtrot dance.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes way more sense. So, there you go. Look at that research that we could have easily done before the show, but I did not do. So...
It's all good. We got to learn together.
Yes, thank you for sharing that moment with me. So, actually, this song... I keep saying it took his career to new heights, but like these are just like the big benchmarks. Like that song became very popular, and he had another one called Frenzy, if that's how you say it. He had originally heard a version of it in Mexico, and then he came and made it a swing song. Also, this is another cool thing about Mr. Artie Shaw. He was one of the first band leaders to integrate and include people of different races in his band. So he worked with Billie Holiday, and she sang some songs with him. There's a song, Any Old Time, that she recorded with him. He toured with Billie Holiday for a while, but unfortunately she had to quit because she kept experiencing discrimination, especially in southern cities. And so she didn't want that to continue, which, yeah.
I understand. Yeah. And, actually I watched, which I'll talk more about later, but in an interview that I watched of him, he talked about that, and he said I wasn't trying to make some big statement. She was just the best singer that I could find. So it was he was all about the music, and he actually had another encounter with another black musician in his band who was angry about his lower pay that he was getting, and actually pulled a knife out on Artie. And Artie said, what are you doing? We're friends. Don't take this out on me. And the man just left, and he said he didn't see him for decades.
Wow.
So, I mean, that was a hard time. People couldn't deny their talent, but they just could not get past the color of their skin.
Yeah.
So.
Well, although it is interesting, Billie Holiday is still a well-known name today. Artie Shaw, not so much. So...
That's true. He was lucky that she would tour with him as opposed to her being lucky that he asked her.
Yes.
Really.
No, that's a great way to say it, because I think that from what I can tell, it sounds like she was also a help to his career more than he was a help to hers. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, another fun fact, not as fun, I guess, about Artie Shaw, he didn't really like his fans. He is known for calling them
he did not.
morons. So, sorry, I guess you and I are morons for enjoying his music. And I mentioned that he went to Mexico, and I don't know if this is why he went to Mexico, but he went in 1939 because he just walked off during the middle of a show in New York City and went to Mexico. It sounded like he was just fed up with the people there. So he went to Mexico and found a cool song that made him more popular, which gave him more fans that he didn't like. Yeah. So, and another thing, you said that he was all about the music, and he did not care for Benny Goodman, who was one of his contemporaries, rivals, however you want to say it. And this is a quote from Artie Shaw. He said, "I was playing, he was swinging," about Benny Goodman. So it sounds like he was thinking he was more about the music, whereas Benny Goodman was more just trying to please his audience. And he wasn't all about the music. So, and it seems like his frustration with his fans got the best of him. He actually retired in 1954, and he still did some music, but he did not do it all the touring and the huge shows that he did before. He also worked on some writing and fly fishing, of all things. And he has, by the end of his life, he had been married 8 times. Yeah.
That is insane.
I know. So one of his wives, this was one of his early marriages. He was married to Lana Turner, who you might remember from the Peyton Place movie that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Yes, I think she played...
And which character did she play?
I think Constance.
Oh, okay.
So he was married to her,
right.
but for only a few months. And his 5th marriage was to Ava Gardner, which is another big name that you might be familiar with. He was married 6 other times. I didn't recognize any of the other names. Some of them were short, some of them were longer. I think he had 2 kids total, it sounded like. So he had got around, I guess you could say. Yeah. In 2004, just a few months before he died, he received the Recording Academy's, which is the Grammy people, that's their official name, the Recording Academy's Lifetime Achievement Award. And at one point during his life, he said that he wanted his epitaph to say, he did the best he could with the material he had, but before he died, he changed it to go away.
Oh my gosh. Still insulting his fans and people who want to pay tribute. Interesting way to go.
So that is a little bit about Artie Shaw. He was a very talented musician, and he did not care for his fans. So there you go. Artie Shaw in a nutshell.
Well, very good job putting him in a nutshell. That doesn't make any sense. But a good summary of his life. I was able to found an interview that he did when he was, I think he was 90, and he did not look 90, but he was, and it was really interesting. It was just kind of looking back on his career, and definitely something that I saw was what you said. He hated his audience. I read that in many different places. I read it in a 1972 article from the New York Times. In his interview, he stated it in a book that a man named Lee Server wrote about Ava Gardner, one of his wives. He said it there too. I think just from listening to him speak and reading about him, I think that his deep desire to not do what his audience wants. I think he turned from, I just want to be for my music, not think about what's popular or think about my fans. I want to just make the best music I can, which I think is a pretty is a good way for artists to look at their work, right? Because otherwise they're just looking for, retweets and likes when it shouldn't be about that. But I think for him, it turned into not wanting to do what his audience wanted. And that became a driving force for him later in life, because you said, he retired early, and he actually stopped playing his clarinet, and he was the king of clarinet, like you said, at age 44. And he didn't play it again. And in the interview, he actually held one in his hand, and I want you to listen to what he says.
It feels very strange, as if you had an arm taken off, and somebody handed it to you, you could look at it. It was that familiar. There is a reed in it. But I couldn't possibly produce a note on it today.
He said losing the clarinet was like losing part of himself.
Yeah, he said that it's like he had an arm taken off and then somebody handed it to him and now he's looking at it. So
Wow.
I just thought that was so interesting that he chose to stop playing at age 44 because of expectations from others, and yet at age 90 he still said, wow, that it feels like it's a part of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really sad. That was really sad.
Well, and it's also sad that, and I guess I can't speak to what interactions he had with his fans. Maybe he really had some terrible ones that led him to say that or to give it up. But it's like sad that sucked the joy of music and his playing.
Yeah, I think it really did. He says also in that interview, he said, if you're just fighting audience expectations to get some music played, the audience never gets educated. So he just felt like they were unwilling to listen to something new or to let him experiment, and that was frustrating to him. So after he put down the clarinet, he had other instruments. Like you said, he continued his musical career, but just in different forms.
Mm-hmm. When he was also writing some music for films too after his official retirement too. So
yeah, and maybe he continued composing, but not so much playing. Was that it?
Well, that was the best of my understanding. And also, if you look at his IMDb credits, there's actually quite a bit on there. So he started in the late 30s doing music in movies, but his music is still being featured in movies today. Like in that recent movie Allied with Brad Pitt and Marion Cotillard that came out last year. Yeah. There was a version of music that he wrote, the concerto for clarinet. So it wasn't his performance, but it was music he wrote. But also the movie Live by Night with Ben Affleck, it says he's the performer on the piece Moonglow, which means they're still using the recording of his music. So there are other movies that he's been in, like 42, The Jackie Robinson Story, Flags of Our Fathers, The Sopranos, The Aviator. I mean, there's a whole bunch on his list. My Girl, that Raging Bull. I keep going. I keep finding another one. But they're either something that it's a recording of his performance or it's music that he wrote that's being performed for the film.
Gotcha. Yeah, and in the interview that I watched, it was from 1976, and the people being interviewed, the man who was interviewing them, they all said it's timeless. Some of these songs are still the best in the genre. Mm-hmm. One thing that Artie Shaw said in this interview, he said, creating new music is better than sex, food. It beats everything. Which,
Whoa.
I mean, he had pretty bad relationships, so maybe that was part of his thought process.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, and what you said earlier, that he might have had some really bad interactions with his fans that led him to think this way. And actually, he talked about an interaction he had with a restaurant owner where he was performing. He and his band, they had a stage and they would perform while people ate. And one night, there were only, I think, maybe 3 tables occupied. And the restaurant manager came up and he said, Artie, like, what is the deal? Why are there only 3 people here? And Artie said, that's not my problem. That's your problem to get people in.
Never forgot his name, Charlie Rochester. And I said, well, call him over. I know what he's talking about. He said, the band isn't doing a good job. I said, well, what do you mean by good job? He said, look at the room. Maybe 3 people having dinner. I said, well, that's not my problem. It's your problem. Mine is to play good music. He said, you got it wrong, kid. He said, I'm not running a concert hall here. I'm running an establishment where we want people. I said, you want me to go out and grab people and bring them in? He said, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. I never forgot that. So he said, if you want to take off your pants and shit on the bandstand, and people will pay to do that, I'll hire you to shit on the bandstand.
Holy cow.
And I was really pretty staggered by that. That really was my first introduction to the idea that I was in showbiz. It had nothing to do with music.
Yeah. Oh, well, I can see why if you've had that experience, why you'd be frustrated.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was so interesting. He said that was the first time he realized, yeah, show business, not really about music, just about the money that comes in because of it.
Mm-hmm. I would be on his side in the argument, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not just, I mean, I guess I don't know exactly how the restaurant was set up and how, but, like, it doesn't make sense that he would bear responsibility for people coming to eat there. Like, that's the manager's responsibility, trying to get advertisements out there, too. So, I'm not sure where that came from.
Right. But what I know this stuck out to me, that in the end he said, that was good advice, but I didn't pay attention to it. And then he went on to say that he always acted in spite of the audience. So that was kind of a turning point for him, maybe.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not dealing with this. Bye. I'm out.
Bye, boy. Boy, bye.
Yeah.
So anyways, it seems like not just audience, but also the people who own the places where he was performing at, they were putting him in a straitjacket, as he said. Yeah, he wanted to evolve, he wanted to develop, and he felt like they were stopping him from doing so.
Okay, that's so interesting to hear, too, because I also watched a movie that he was in called Second Chorus, and in that movie, it's before he retired. The movie came out in 1940, so it's about 14 years before he retired. And it's just interesting because at this point in the movie, he's playing himself. And he's playing... Funny. Yeah, so it's Fred Astaire and Burgess Meredith, and they play best friends. And they fall in love with the same girl, played by Paulette Goddard.
Classic.
Yes, and she's a really great music manager, and she ends up stopping being their band manager to go be a band manager for Artie Shaw. And so then they both, Fred Astaire and Burgess Meredith, end up not only competing for the same girl, but competing to be in Artie Shaw's band. They both want the same trumpet playing position. And so Artie actually has a huge role throughout the movie because he's working very closely with the Paulette Goddard character and holding these auditions. And there are a lot of musical interludes in the movie. So, and a lot of those he's playing in. So he does play the clarinet.
Nice.
And he's doing a lot of band leading. And then Fred Astaire ends up getting the big break. And it did not totally resolve. I was a little disappointed. Fred Astaire got the girl and the job. And Burgess Meredith was tricked into drinking sleeping pills, and so he missed the show. And and that's the resolution, is like like they sort of made up as friends, but not really. So
but Fred got everything, and poor Burgess Meredith got
although
nothing.
Fred Astaire, eighth wonder of the world, I am telling you, watching him tap dance while leading Artie Shaw's band is incredible. So yes,
a sucker for some good tap dancing.
Yes, just watching him, it is amazing still. And Artie Shaw in this movie, though, totally game, playing himself. I mean, he's really, his character, Artie Shaw, is really concerned about this big concert that he has coming up. And he's totally professional and serious. What's his character's name? Artie Shaw? Have you heard of it?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so Artie Shaw playing Artie Shaw, the character. And he takes his music very seriously. At one point, Fred Astaire and Burgess Meredith are sabotaging each other's trumpet auditions to be in his band, and he's having none of it.
Interesting. Yeah, he said in the interview that he tried acting, didn't really care for it, but I love how if you are in the music biz or in the acting biz, you always get an opportunity to try the other one. And then if you want it, okay. If not, no big deal. Whereas the rest of us are I'm just trying to break into one.
Yeah. Well, and it paid off in some ways for him. For Second Chorus, he was nominated for 2 Oscars. One because he did the score for the movie. And then he also wrote a bunch of the songs, including Love of My Life, which was nominated for Best Original Song.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Probably got him a little bit of fame, too. A little extra fame that he maybe didn't want.
Especially since he plays a pretty big supporting role in the movie.
We took a poll on the campus, and almost everybody voted for Artie Shaw's band.
Artie Shaw? Who's Artie Shaw?
Yeah.
So, fitting into the context of Gilmore Girls and of that scene, I had a little trouble with figuring this out because I read some different ideas online from what I came up with. So, I want to hear feedback because I'm not 100% sure. So, in the episode, in the scene, Drella is playing Iron Man by Black Sabbath on harp, which is pretty hilarious. Such a beautiful instrument playing. And Lorelai says, no, we want Mozart, wants more traditional. So, when Drella said, I'm the Artie Shaw of harpists, to me, she sounded like she was mocking him and she didn't want to be associated with him, just the tone in her voice and her look. But I think that she and Artie were a little bit similar. And one thing that I read on a blog, Every Gilmore Girls culture reference on WordPress, their take was Drella was referencing the fact that Shaw was a musical pioneer, including unusual instruments in his big band ensembles and mixing jazz music with genres such as classical and Afro-Cuban. So that was that blog's take, that Drella was tying herself to Artie, but I don't think that fit because of the way that she said it. To you, did it seem like she was dissing Artie or like she was owning that title?
Well, that's a great question. I think I'm somewhere in between because I didn't read it as a diss on Artie Shaw. I was thinking more like Artie Shaw did not like his fans, and I think she's kind of in a similar boat of like, I don't care what the people want. I want to do what I want to do. And also Artie Shaw was a very accomplished musician, so I think she's trying to say, I'm a really great musician and the people just don't appreciate me. And I'd rather play whatever I want to play, like Iron Man by Black Sabbath, instead of Mozart.
Ah, okay. That sounds totally right. So it was more of a, I'm longing, like, I am Artie Shaw, guys. Why don't you believe me? As opposed to, so that was maybe that was the kind of the upsetness in her tone that I was picking up on, was really saying, why don't you guys treat me like a great? I am one.
Yes. And like, I'm just trying to be an artist.
Yeah, okay, I love that because I was thinking the same thing about how similar they are, that she was playing Black Sabbath on the harp and doing what she wanted. And in all of her scenes, I mean, there's people standing there enjoying her music and she sits up, all right, that's lunch.
Yeah.
And other people, tell it to the tip jar, and she was not a fan of her audience either. So I'm going to say that Amy Sherman-Palladino was building up to this. And that's why Drella acted so insensitive to her audience, because she wanted to associate her with Artie Shaw. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And especially like earlier in the episode, or no, I guess later in the episode, she's like, hey, what do you think about Pat Benatar? And so it sounds like she wants to keep playing her own kind of music. And, she does not get along well with Michelle either. It sounds like she just wants to do whatever she wants to do, even if Lorelai, and I presume Michelle is also her superior at work. Mm-hmm. And nope, she'd just rather play whatever she wants to play. Like Black Sabbath, Steely Dan, Boston, Queen, Pat Benatar.
All those people.
Yes. Which I don't think of any of those as harp music.
No, but that's what makes her pioneer, is that she turned their music into harp-worthy music.
Yes. Tortured artist.
Can you feel it? Oh, yeah. Well, that was really helpful because I was having a hard time figuring out if she was pro or anti-Artie, and it sounds like she's anti-Lorelai.
Anti-people.
And her rules. Yes, anti-people.
Drella really is the Artie Shaw of harpists.
Nice, huh?
Beautiful.
Yeah, well, tell to the tip jar.
So, we've got another Easter egg hunt for you.
What?
Yes. We're trying to find more ways to tie the revival in with the original run of Gilmore Girls on the WB and later CW. One of the more memorable Rory moments in the revival that I have a little more affection for aka a better Rory moment. There are few and far between in the revival. Love you, Rory, but those aren't your best episodes.
No.
But the scenes where she is tap dancing to try and take care of some stress relief, that is something I did find funny. I enjoyed watching those scenes of her tapping in the revival, and then I came across a reference to tap dancing when I was looking at another episode, which is episode 221, Lorelai's graduation day. And let's listen to a clip.
I had a school thing once, and I wasn't sure if Mom would want to go, so I didn't invite her. It was my kindergarten salute to vegetables pageant, and I was broccoli, and I did a tap dance with a guy that was playing beats. And the entire number, I was just thinking, Mom's not here, and it was my fault that she wasn't there. And, well, it was kind of a life lesson for me.
So that is the early start to Rory's tap dancing career. It is a brief mention in 221, but I think that maybe she had a little bit of inspiration when she was the tap dancing broccoli, and somewhere deep in her psyche that stayed with her. And maybe because that moment was a little traumatic, her mom wasn't there, maybe she associates it with trying to work through some of those feelings.
Wow, that's a really deep way to look at it, Taylor.
Is this a stretch? Maybe a little bit, but it is a fun connection nonetheless.
So she had a little more fun as a broccoli tap dancer than she let on.
Yes, and I'm a little sad that we didn't see her in a broccoli costume as an adult. I don't know.
Was she eating broccoli, maybe?
No, probably Pop-Tarts. Let's be real. Has Rory ever eaten broccoli?
No.
Probably...
Although when she and Logan host Lorelai and Luke in one of their vacation homes, they were cooking up some vegetables. So
the Valentine's episode?
It could have been.
Okay.
They go to the gym.
Yeah.
Very strange.
That's a rough episode. It's not one of my favorites.
No, me neither.
And it's probably because of the vegetables. It was probably
It is because of the vegetables. That was the trauma.
Bring back the Pop-Tarts.
Bring them back.
There. Pop-Tart appetizers to tide you over until the pizza comes.
Thanks.
That was really helpful for me. I don't know. I would never have understood that reference, who Artie Shaw was. And I think we had to dive kind of deep to figure it out, especially with how much he related to Drella. So that was really interesting for me. Thanks for the background.
Yeah. And also, Second Chorus is a fun movie. You can watch it for free if you go to IMDb, and there's a link to watch it, because I think it's in the public domain now, so you can just watch it free at Internet Archive, and the link is on IMDb on its page.
Nice.
But yeah, his music is great, and I've really enjoyed it. I think he's someone I will continue to listen to.
We'll put some links up so you guys can listen to it too and watch that movie. Might do that too.
And there's a whole bunch of his music on Spotify, so
okay,
that's where I've been listening.
Yeah, I'm a iTunes girl, so
yes,
that's where I listen to it.
Perfect.
Which we're not sponsored by either, but we're open to it, and then I will switch or you will switch.
Yes.
Our loyalties.
So, yes. So, well, thank you so much for joining us, friends.
You can share us, review us on iTunes, tell your friends they can listen to us on Stitcher or Google Play, all those places.
And always let us know if there is something that you want to know about, like a Gilmore Girls reference that you don't understand. We would totally love to dive into it. More or less, we are going in chronological order of the episodes, but the nice thing is, if we jump out of order, we'll do okay. So if there's something that you really want to hear about, we'd love to talk about it and do a little research on it.
Yeah. And you can find us on Twitter at So It's a Show, and I'm on Twitter at Kyla Kathneru, KYLACARNEIRO.
And I'm on Twitter at tblake24, and you can always shoot us an email to at soitsashow@gmail.com.
Yep. All right, next episode is going to be from, season 1, episode 5. Yeah.
Cinnamon's Wake.
Oh, poor cat.
Poor little Cinnamon. Yes. But we are not going to be talking cinnamon or cats. We are going to be talking Valley of the Dolls.
Can I help you with something? Oh, no. I thought I'd just get some of this stuff packed away.
Wow. It's like a scene from the kiddie version of Valley of the Dolls.
Yeah, you never realize how old they actually are till you look in the medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
These were for her heartworms, for her thyroid, her kidneys, for the rest.
Which sounds really creepy to me.
Yes. And maybe we'll have nightmares. We'll see. If we have nightmares, we can talk about it on the episode. The things we do for our
we'll have
art.
a little therapy sesh.
Yes, we are tortured artists like Artie Shaw.
Oh, yeah. Maybe not, but...
And we'll see you next time.
Yes, thanks for chatting, Taylor.
Thank you too, Miss Kyla.
Bye.
Bye.